And I'm going to thank you for joining us. And I already told you earlier, but I'll say it again. Welcome home.
Thank you.
And good, good. So, what I will start with is asking you to introduce yourself. What do you do and where do you work?
Well, my name is Mishael, and I am a singer. I sing on a cruise ship. The company is called Celebrity Cruises, and yeah, that's what I do.
Okay, cool. And how long have you been doing this?
I started working with them last year, so just over a year. I started working with them last year, January,
Hmm.
and so I've been with them since then. Um,
Okay. And for me, I know a little bit of some things that you were doing before. And if I remember correctly, you were actually overseas going to school. What was that like and where were you at that point?
yeah, so I went to school in New York. I went to AMDA, which stands for the American Musical and Dramatic Academy.
Hmm.
And so I studied musical theater there. And it was an amazing experience. It allowed me to meet incredible people, whether it was my classmates or my tutors. It was a really, really good time. And then after that, I stayed in New York. I was in New York and also Barbados. So I was back and forth. So I'd go to New York and do some shows or audition, and then come back to Barbados and just like get some downtime. And I did that between 2016 and 2018. 2014 and 2018.
Okay. So you've been out of Barbados for a good few years, basically. Yeah. So I'm going to take us now. We are working on the cruise ship and that's going well. What was your routine, kind of like daily routine on that ship?
So basically, we have four shows, and so throughout those with those four shows throughout the cruise, we spread them out because we also have guest entertainers. So we would do a show maybe depending on how long the cruise is. We usually did 2 week cruises, so we do a show like every like 3 days or so, and they're always at 7 and 9 p.m. Um, and every show day we would have a technical rehearsal, and that's usually like in the afternoon time or in the morning. We run the whole show. We do it full out as if we're actually performing it for an audience, and then we do the show at 7 and 9, like I said. Yeah.
Okay. Um, so whole global pandemic is happening right now, but I want to kind of understand what was happening leading up to that. Like you're on the ship and we're slowly starting hearing that there are cases happening on cruise ships. What was that like for you?
Honestly, it was so surreal because obviously none of us have ever experienced anything like this ever. And being on a ship, I was like, well, where do you go from here? Like, what do you do? We had several meetings where they were weighing the options of whether we should stay or whether we should leave. And this was like around, I would say, March, like mid March. No, late March, like late March. We were trying to figure out, should we stay or should we leave? So we were given the option. But the thing is, we never understood the magnitude of what this would become. So essentially, we were asked, if you we were told if you do stay, we could potentially start, maybe in like a month or two. We honestly did not know how huge this thing was going to be. So the majority of my cast, we said, collectively, we said, we'll just stay because we assumed that we could maybe start back working maybe late April, early May. We didn't know that this was going to be so big. So we decided to stay, and it just got worse and worse and worse. And then the idea now of going home then kind of became, you know, non-existent, almost. So it was definitely an experience for sure. Definitely an experience.
Okay, so you were in the cast. You all decided they were going to stay, thinking that obviously it will pass and you all will be back to work in no time.
Yeah.
You reached a point where it's clear that everybody is going to be stationed or stuck where they are, and there's no more cruise happening. What was
Yeah.
that like for you?
Yeah, when we found out that, okay, it's seeming like we're not going to start back anytime soon, and then on top of that, the idea of going home is kind of virtually impossible. It was just like, what do you do, And then for about 30 days, no, less than 30 days, I would say maybe 21 days actually, if I'm being specific. Isolation, and we were confined to our rooms or to our cabins, and we couldn't leave. Everything had to be brought to us. We had to get our meals brought to us. Laundry, everything had to be done for us. And it was definitely weird because we are so accustomed. Our norm is interacting with each other, not only on stage but off stage. So to not even have that, it was definitely very trying. We had balconies, so I will say we did have balconies, so we were able to see each other, but we couldn't really, be with each other. It was definitely,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Um, so you
very
are
trying, very trying.
so you are there for basically 21 days, not able to interact with the rest of your crew and team and castmates. When that started to progress into maybe say week one, what was going through your head?
The week one of isolation.
Yes.
Um, Week one of isolation. I'm trying to think back. Week one of isolation. It was pretty chill. Like I said, you know what? I can do this. This is easy. Because I not only like to interact with people, but I also am a huge fan of having downtime and alone time. So I was like, I'm gonna take this as my me time. So the first week was like, yeah, like I can do this. That was week one, but yeah, week one was a little easy. I would say week one wasn't that hard. It was when it got longer.
So when it started to get hard for you, what was going through your head and what was actually going on around you as well at that time?
So for me, I had to then find different methods to entertain myself. I had to then also do other things, find new things that I would not normally do because I have so much time. We had the entire day, 24 hours of our day alone. So it was a lot of self-reflecting. And then, like I said, I started to learn Spanish. I started to work out more. I started just really self-reflecting and meditating and really becoming very introspective of who I am and what are my goals and what do I want to achieve. Started rehearsing more, yeah, definitely just becoming a better me. That's what I was doing during that time because you're stuck with yourself. You're stuck with yourself. You're with no one else. So you need to really take that time to understand who you are and what you're about. And this time, that time period, it really tests how strong you are and how strong you can be, for sure.
Yeah. So you got to a point then, I guess, where they were telling you either you're staying here for more days, then you have a period where you're now going or talking about being able to go home. What was that like?
Yeah. After isolation, we basically were told, you know, just stay tuned. We will let you know what the potential flights could be like. But it wasn't anytime in the near future. So we came out of isolation, I would say, when did we come out of isolation? I think early May. Early May. We came out of isolation early May, like May the 3rd or so, 3rd, 4th. And the whole concept of flights was talked about, but we still weren't sure. We
Yeah.
still weren't sure. And I know for me personally, Barbados was not an option. So they were asking if you have any friends elsewhere, like in other countries,
Yeah.
that are, open, you could potentially go there as well. But for me, my main purpose and my main goal was always to go home because home will always be home. So my main goal was always to get home. And I was like, I'll just wait it out. And then during that process, we also had moved ships as well. So that I was on a ship called Celebrity Silhouette, and then we had to move to another ship that was a little bit more, I would say, more laid back, a little bit more relaxed. And just waited out until we could figure out when we'd be able to leave.
So during this period, these ships, you were docked near where, by the way?
We were docked for the most part. We were docked near the company itself has an island called Coco Cay, which is near the Bahamas,
Okay.
and we would dock near there. We would go to Miami ever so often, maybe every 2 weeks, maybe, to get provisions for the ship, because obviously the ship needs to keep running, so to get fuel and to get provisions for the ship.
So actually, so what did also that look like? Well, what did that look like being on the ship and realizing, all right, you have to get restock and there's provisions running low? Was there any worry like between yourself and also too with the rest of the crew, like things will
Oh,
get
absolutely.
okay?
Absolutely.
And what was that
Absolutely.
like?
Oh my gosh. Don't even, oh gosh, to reflect on that now is just so triggering. Because obviously you come with a set of essentials that you have, things that you like to purchase,
Mhm.
that are personal to you. And as time goes on, especially during isolation, those things start to run out. Those things are now running low, and you have to figure out what on earth am I going to do? And then God bless them, but the things that they would bring on, because we have something called the crew shop, and the
Yeah.
crew shop basically has snacks and things that you would need, like lotion and shampoo
Right. So your
or whatever,
toiletries and some
toiletries.
comfort stuff.
Yes, but they weren't really they weren't things that I would really buy for myself. But in this scenario, you have to do it. You
Yeah.
have to do it. So there was a moment where I literally ran out of the majority of my things that were running so low, and I was like, well, I have to just use these things,
Yeah.
So yeah.
I only could imagine, but it's one of those things I think about, especially we have the cruise ships docked off of Barbados,
Yeah.
and I am imagining that they're in the same scenario, trying to keep
Everyone's trying to get
occupied.
home.
Exactly.
Everyone's trying to keep occupied. Everyone's trying to get home, and it's just it's really it's hard to watch and to see people just slowly just break down. Some people can be resilient, and then some people just come to a point where they're just like, I can't do this anymore. And it's sad to see. I have a lot of friends back on the ship that are still there, and they're trying to keep positive. They're trying to like, keep hope alive. But when you're told that you're going to leave on this date and then that doesn't happen, I can understand that can become very, very frustrating. And the company is doing the absolute best. I want to say this: the company is doing the absolute best, that they can. But sometimes the odds are just not in your favor.
I to even I guess the reality of that is that you have people from all over the world working on this ship, and you are dealing with different issues of borders being closed on different restrictions and just not
Yeah,
possible flights to get into some countries.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, a lot of the South American people, they're still there because it's very tough for them to get home. So a lot of them are stuck there right now.
Okay.
Um, yeah.
What when you were there, what are some of the things that you really wanted or thought of when you got back home that you would want or do?
uh, Definitely a lot of stuff that my mom makes. First of all, my mom's food. So like just her take on everything that she does. So like even something as little as like her macaroni pie. Like I miss eating her macaroni pie. I miss her like rotis. I miss like chafette, like a good old snack box. Like a drink, a plus, some bakes, you know, stuff like that. Yeah, I'm a big foodie, and my mom's food is just so good, and to not have that was just a lot.
I think we all had periods of uh, things that we missed because obviously there was a 24-hour quarantine, and we had some more
Yeah.
exposure there. And I guess what I for you coming out of the ship quarantine is being home and being under our curfew type quarantine. Is this harder, or you're like all accustomed to it now? How do you feel about just coming in off of one to the other?
Yeah. It is definitely different for sure. It's different. I'm able to at least walk on land. Let's just start. Let's start there. Let's start there. I'm able to walk on land, and that's great. So that's good. I get to breathe. You know, we get fresh air. Yes, you go on the open deck and you get fresh air, but to be able to just be on land in your home, you know, there are similarities as well because obviously there are restrictions on the ship. You know, you have to social distance. You have to wear your mask if you're interacting with somebody else. You know, stuff like that. Those are similar, but there's nothing like stepping foot on land. The moment I got off and I was on land, it was the most exhilarating feeling that you could ever feel. Like there's nothing like that.
Yeah.
Someone's calling me. I'm so sorry.
That's
Yes, I'm
okay.
good. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry about that.
No, that's okay. And actually, that's probably a good feeling too to have people passing by shouting you or whatever. That's nice.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Uh, Good. Well, what I would do is probably check in with you, see, let you settle in because I know you recently got in. So,
Yeah.
checking with you a little later on, seeing how it's all going. Because I'm sure there's 101 different people that want to talk to you and see you.
Yeah.
But my last question is, are you still in contact with some of the others that are on the ship still?
Yeah. For the cast, for one, definitely. My Australian friends, they were the last to leave. They actually left today. So they have 36 hours of travel to do before they can actually touch home. So my castmates, we keep in touch. We have a group chat, and then I obviously speak to them individually as well. And then I have some friends that are in other departments that I speak to every now and again, especially today because they wanted to know if I was okay when I got home and stuff.
Okay.
So yeah, I definitely keep in touch with a lot of people as well.
Okay. Well, that's
Yeah.
really great. And as I said, we hopefully will follow up and just see how things are. And
Yeah.
thank you so much for taking the time and doing this.
Anytime.
Great.